We're all familiar with the phrase, money makes the world go round. And in the world of Formula One, this sentiment holds true. While sports like football, rugby, or basketball can be successful without hefty financial backing, Formula One operates on a different principle. Unlike the pay-to-win dynamics seen in some sports, Formula One operates more as pay-to-play, or even to compete at all. In Formula One, money plays a critical role. Looking at the financials of the sport reveals significant figures. In 2023, Formula One raked in a staggering $3.2 billion in revenue. Meanwhile, top drivers can command annual salaries of up to $50 million, placing them among the highest paid athletes globally. The trend of financial dominance extends to the grassroots level, with karting now demanding six-figure investments in many cases. Consequently, the sport has seen an influx of paid drivers in recent years. While some may grumble about the prevalence of paid drivers, this video focuses on the teams and their strategies within this financial landscape. Formula One isn't just a simple business venture. It's a colossal billion-dollar industry that supports tens of thousands of workers. Within this industry, the teams function as the core businesses that drive the sport forward, akin to how Google and Apple lead the tech sector. Like any business, the primary objective for these teams is to turn a profit. So how exactly do Formula One teams generate revenue, and do they manage to make a profit at all? Let's get into that in this video. It's worth noting that all the financial data referenced here is from 2023. To understand profits, we must examine both costs and revenues. Costs represent what the business spends, while revenues signify its earnings. Simply put, for a profit to materialize, the revenue must exceed the costs. Formula One teams encounter various expenses and income sources, some of which might surprise you. Let's begin by getting into the expenditures of a Formula One team and understanding where their money goes. These costs can generally be categorized into four primary areas: research and development, R&D, salaries, production, and operations. Research and development encompass various activities such as wind tunnel testing, track trials, and other forms of testing aimed at ensuring the optimal performance of components. Salaries cover payments to team personnel, including marketing staff, drivers like Max Verstappen with his hefty $55 million paycheck, and team directors like Toto Wolff and Christian Horner. Production costs entail the manufacturing of new parts, acquiring components, and either building or procuring the engine, which alone can incur costs exceeding $25 million. Operations encompass logistical aspects like travel arrangements, client entertainment, freight transport to distant races such as Singapore, IT and technology expenses, factory operations, professional services like marketing, and surprisingly, the cumulative cost of fuel throughout the season. When we compile the various expenditures across these areas, we can begin to grasp the overall financial outlay of an average team over a season. In this hypothetical scenario, the team's expenses tally up to $135 million over the course of the season, which corresponds to the budget cap imposed by the governing body. Keeping that $135 million figure in perspective, let's now explore how an F1 team generates revenue. It's important to note that revenue sources can vary between teams, meaning each team may earn money in different ways. Revenue for an F1 team can generally be divided into 3 or 4 categories, depending on the team. These are FOM payments, sponsorship deals, investments, and driver-linked income. Starting with the most significant one, FOM payments. FOM stands for Formula One Management. These payments to F1 teams are quite intricate and can be broken down into several components. The first component amounts to $36 million and is distributed evenly to every team that has been classified for over 2 seasons. Following this, there's prize money based on each team's performance in the previous season. For instance, Red Bull received $140 million for winning the championship, while Haas received considerably less for finishing last, about $60 million. Moving on, the third component is the LST, or long-standing team payment, affectionately termed the Ferrari budget because it's exclusively allocated to them, amounting to a whopping $50 million. Additionally, there used to be a Constructors' Championship bonus, a $150 million payment distributed to Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, and McLaren for their success in winning multiple titles. But this went away with a new agreement. Finally, there are miscellaneous payments such as a $10 million heritage payment to Williams and various bonuses for teams like Red Bull and Mercedes. It's a complex system that might seem unfair to some, but it's how the revenue in Formula One is structured. However, FOM payments and bonuses are just one part of the earnings equation for Formula One teams. Another significant source of revenue comes from sponsorships. While most people grasp the concept of sponsorships, it essentially involves a company like Petronas approaching a team like Mercedes, offering to pay to have their brand displayed on the car. In return, Mercedes might agree to showcase the sponsor's logo for a fee, let's say $75 million. Typically, a team can have anywhere from 15 to 25 sponsors, each contributing a sum to have their logo prominently featured on the car. Naturally, better performing teams attract more sponsors due to increased TV exposure and marketability. Conversely, teams or drivers with poor reputations struggle to attract sponsors. The next revenue stream for teams comes in the form of investments from parent companies or shareholders. For instance, if Daimler wants Mercedes to perform better in F1, they might inject $80 million per season into the team. While this investment pattern is similar across teams, some can afford to invest more than others. For example, in 2019, Mercedes received $80 million annually, while Racing Point received only $25 million. For many teams, this investment constitutes a significant portion, sometimes up to a quarter, of their total revenue. This discrepancy in financial backing elucidates why teams like Williams often face financial challenges. Lastly, teams can also earn revenue through driver-linked income, where a driver pays the team to drive the car. This practice is more prevalent among lower-tier teams striving to bolster their revenue streams. For instance, in 2017, Lance Stroll paid Williams $30 million to secure his seat. However, such arrangements are less common among top-tier teams. So, those are the primary avenues through which Formula One teams can generate revenue. Now let's apply this to our hypothetical scenario. Suppose our team receives $65 million from FOME payments, $30 million from investments, $50 million from sponsorships, and $20 million from driver-linked income. That totals $165 million in total revenue. In this hypothetical example, the team would then generate a $30 million profit. So that's essentially the blueprint for how an F1 team generates revenue. But why not take a closer look at the current champions, Red Bull, and assess their financial standing? In 2023, Red Bull reached the budget cap of $135 million on various expenses such as car components, garage equipment, spare parts and transportation costs, and most team personnel. But driver salaries, marketing, license fees, and bonuses are not part of the budget cap. As for their income, Forbes estimates their 2023 revenue to be about $510 million. That includes the prize they received from Formula One management and payment from sponsors and technology partners. Red Bull's revenue has been increasing year over year. In the year 2021, it was at $285 million, and that year they netted a whopping $1.6 million. Numbers for last year have not been released yet, but we can probably guess that even though they almost doubled their revenue since 21, it won't be a crazy number. When considering the entire grid, the financial landscape becomes even more intriguing. With the exception of two teams, nearly every team manages to break even, meaning their costs roughly match their revenue. These are rough estimates, so there might be a slight loss or gain, but the key takeaway is that almost every team maximizes its resources to the fullest. This strategy makes sense for several reasons. Firstly, Formula One serves as a powerful marketing platform for car companies. While these teams may not directly generate profits, their participation indirectly contributes to significant gains for their parent companies like Mercedes, Renault, Ferrari, and others. Formula One showcases its technology, innovation, and performance, enhancing its brand image and potentially influencing viewers to purchase its road cars. Therefore, for teams like Mercedes, Renault, and Ferrari, the profitability of their F1 ventures isn't necessarily the primary concern. What matters is the indirect financial benefit derived from increased brand visibility and association with excellence in motorsport. Moreover, if a team does manage to turn a profit, it signifies their potential to allocate more resources toward improving the performance of their cars, which ultimately remains the paramount objective in Formula One. The budget cap change had the most pronounced impact on teams like Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari. The primary objective was to foster a more equitable competition environment, which I wholeheartedly support. While some teams may attempt to exploit loopholes in the regulations, overall the implementation of the budget cap is viewed as a positive development for Formula One. So, that's a brief overview of how Formula One teams operate as businesses and generate revenue. It highlights the impressive efficiency of some of the smaller teams, such as Williams. It also provides perspective on remarkable achievements like Pierre Gasly's victory at Monza. If you appreciate this style of video, please give it a like and leave a comment below. And as always, remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for more videos.